Hey everybody, what's happening? My name is Steven.
And I'm Spencer.
We work with Nexus Youth and Family Services here in Amador County, and what we want to do is we want to bring our project success, our in-class experience, to you via a video. We would typically much rather be in class with you and answering questions and going through this with you and in person, but based on the circumstances and the situation, this is the best we got. And so we want to bring to you a couple of different lessons covering a variety of different topics, and today we want to start with goal setting. We both believe that goal setting is of extreme importance, whether it's academics, whether it's sports, whether it's what you want to do professionally. Whatever it is, we want you to know that there's a couple different ways to do goal setting and planning for this. And we want to give you a very simple way to set goals when it comes to whatever plans you have for your life and whatever goals you're trying to achieve. So we're going to cover that. We hope to give you some information that will allow you to build on the plans that you have for your life.
So let's start off by defining what a goal is. So a goal is the result or achievement towards which effort is directed. A goal will usually consist of short-term goals which build towards your ultimate long-term goal. So this could be, maybe what you want to do with your career. You want to set your short-term goals, and they're kind of like your building blocks to get to your long-term goal. Or it could be, how do you want your school year to go? What do you want your grades to look like? How, those kind of things. So you want, again, set your short-term goals that will eventually build up towards your long-term goal. Your short-term goals essentially act as a foundation.
Absolutely. And so what we're going to do is we are going to use SMART goals as our approach. SMART is an acronym that will help shape the roadmap for you to reach your goals. And so as Spencer said, this is all kind of a building block. We're going to build upon it and give you a very simple, easy way for you to start planning for these goals that you have.
So first up, we have the letter S, and the letter S stands for specific. So your goals should be clear and specific, otherwise you won't be able to focus your efforts on getting that goal achieved. So it's important when crafting your goal to try to answer the 5 W questions. So first one is, what do I want to get accomplished? And then you move on to, why is this goal important? And then it's, who is involved, where is it located, and which resources are involved. So that would be, what do I need to achieve that goal, those type of things.
So this is really important. As Spencer mentioned, there are 5 W's, those what, why, who, where, and which. Those are really important when it comes to being specific. I know for myself, when I was in middle school, I had a very specific goal of going to Stanford University and playing third base for the baseball team and middle linebacker for the football team. Now, that's what I wanted to accomplish. And then the why was so important, was because I wanted to go and do something that I loved, playing sports, but I also wanted to get a crazy good education from Stanford. Then the who was everybody that was involved, my parents, myself, my coaches, all of those people were involved when it came to this decision. Where was it located? Obviously it was at home. It was at school. It was at the gym. It was wherever I was, or the fields. It was there. It was located because those were the places and the people I was surrounding myself with when it came to me achieving this goal that I had. And then what resources? The plethora of resources around me. And oftentimes, I think we kind of forget that is we don't have these resources being in a small rural community, when in fact we do. We have people that we can reach out to. And that was something that was really important for me. When I had this specific goal to go to Stanford, play football and baseball there, it was really, really important for me to understand that I had those things and I had those people around me. So that's one way, is you can be super specific, whether it's a sports team or going to a college or a trade school, or maybe it's even trying out for that lead role for the new drama. Whatever it might be, you want to be as specific as possible, because when you're super specific, we will continue to build on this SMART acronym.
Yep. So next up we have the M, which stands for measurable, guys. So it's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and stay motivated. There have been a lot of studies done that show if you track your progress of your goals and you're working through those short-term goals towards your long-term goal, you feel good. You get a sense of accomplishment as you're accomplishing those short-term goals, which helps you to stay motivated towards your ultimate long-term goal. So assessing progress helps you to stay focused, meet your deadlines, and also feel the excitement of getting closer to achieving your goal. So when you have a measurable goal, it should address these questions. So how much, how many, and how will I know when it is accomplished?
Those are all really good questions, and regardless of what your ultimate goal is, these are parts that we need. So for me, how much? Well, how much was tuition going to cost? Was I going to get a scholarship to do any of these things?
I'm guessing how much time you need to put in.
That too, and the weight room and all these other things. How many repetitions, how many hours of practice, all these things were part of it. And they were a specific part of the measuring process. And I think the big question is, how will I know when this is accomplished? Well, if I made the team, or if I got admitted to the school and then made the team, which ultimately didn't happen, but I had a goal. And sometimes I think that's good to know is when we have goals, sometimes we don't reach those goals. So we can measure that, and then we can change our goals. Does that mean I change my goal throughout the process? Absolutely. But then we start to build, like we've talked about here, with having new specific goals, or measurable as it comes to the acronym. And so it's really important, you guys, that you would understand that the measurable is a part of this process that is going to continue to help you build your ultimate goal.
So next up we have the A, and the A stands for achievable. So your goal also needs to be realistic and attainable in order for it to be successful, or for you to be successful. So in other words, it should stretch your abilities but still remain possible. Yeah. Stephen was just kind of mentioning that. When you set an achievable goal, you may be able to identify previously overlooked opportunities or resources that can bring you closer to it. So it could be something that you want to kind of stretch yourself out there, don't make it too easy on yourself, but also make sure that you can still achieve it at the end of the day. So an achievable goal will usually answer questions such as, how can I accomplish this goal? How realistic is the goal based on other restraints such as financial factors?
Absolutely, and so I think those are all super important when it comes to this building block. And for me, and probably for you, Spencer, I think we would say a lot of things we become, or at different times, we become overachievers. Mm-hmm. And we set a goal that's super unrealistic. I want to be an astronaut. Well, at this time of my life, I can't be an astronaut.
No.
It could be a goal for me to be a professional baseball player still. Well, that's not going to be achievable right now at my age and the injuries and things that I've had. So it's really important that you set big goals, but you also realize that these smaller goals, as you're building through this process, are they achievable? They give you this sense of completion as you continue to knock these things off your checklist. And that's really important, because realistic goals that you're able to attain really make you feel good. And they keep you going. They give you that energy that you need to keep moving towards your bigger goal in life. And so that's really important, is when we come to the achievable process, or part of it, that we understand we're not going to be the first person on Mars. Simple steps. What you need to do to graduate high school, what you need to do to get into a university or a trade school, or whatever it is, you need to become an astronaut before you can take that next step ultimately to get to Mars. So make sure your goals, your small goals, are achievable, which will ultimately make your big goal achievable as well.
Good. So let's move on to the R, which stands for relevant. This step is about ensuring that your goal matters to you and that it also aligns with other relevant goals. So obviously, if your goal doesn't matter to you, you're probably not going to work very hard to achieve it, guys. So make sure your goal is very relevant to you and your specific life plan. We all need support and assistance in achieving our goals, but it's important to retain control over them. So make sure that your plans drive everyone forward, but you're still responsible for achieving your own goal. This is where we talk about, not letting other people come into, and we'll talk about this later on in our decision-making video, not letting other people really come into your decision-making process unless they're positive influences on you. Otherwise, you might have somebody that, maybe they didn't do as well in school as you, so they don't want to go to that, they can't get into that university you're going to. They couldn't get into Stanford maybe, but you can. But they want to hold you back from going there because they want to go to school with you. It's important to make sure that your goals are staying relevant to you and what your specific time frame and your life plan is. So a relevant goal can answer yes to these questions coming up. Does this seem worthwhile to you personally? Is this the right time for you? Does this match your efforts or your needs? Are you the right person to reach this goal? And is it applicable in the current social economic environment?
And I think these are really important as we continue to build through this SMART process, relevant. And I think one thing that we typically talk about in class is you have an opportunity, or your goal is to go to a major university and get an academic scholarship, which would be fantastic. And whatever these goals are, we encourage you to go after them if they're positive, healthy goals. Mm-hmm. And so for this one, relevant would be you know that you need to have a certain ACT score, or you have to prepare for an ACT, pre-SAT or ACT. And you're like, oh man, I got to have this score in order to get to that university, and if I don't, then I'm in trouble. I'm not gonna have the likelihood of getting in. So what's really important is that you decide, I'm gonna study for this pre-SAT, SAT, or ACT. I'm going to put in the work. I'm gonna pay attention in class. I'm gonna do the things that are relevant to reaching this goal. I'm not gonna be out working or riding my skateboard or just lifting weights or whatever it might be if it's not pertaining specifically to this goal. Now, those other things aren't bad. Don't hear that. Those things are good things, and they're good stress relief, and they're good for dealing with anxiety, which we'll talk about in a couple of videos. And one thing that's really important, though, is that you would understand that you need to be doing things that are relevant towards reaching that goal. If they're not relevant towards reaching that goal, you really need to try and prioritize what you're doing, how you're doing things to get back on track to reach that goal. So when it comes to relevance and being relevant in this SMART goal, you have to know the efforts, the things that are needed, who are the people that, are you the right people around you that are in your circle, that are influencing you? Are they the right kind of people? Like Spencer said, you might get a friend that's not quite as academically in tune with what you're trying to do, and oh, just come to school with us and you'll be fine. That's not the kind of goal or people you want around you necessarily. So if they don't have the same sort of goals in mind as you do, you might want to kind of separate yourself, and that would be a relevant thing to do because you are trying to achieve something that's pretty significant in our mind when it comes to higher education.
Most definitely. So next up, guys, we're going to go to the T, which stands for timely. So every goal needs a target date so that you have a deadline to focus on and something to work towards. Obviously, if we keep talking about goals of college, so your target date's going to be somewhere around the beginning to middle of your senior year. You should probably have a good idea of where you're going to be going to college. For other long-term life goals, as far as careers and things like that go, you need to set a time date because you just say, hey, I want to be a mechanic when I grow up. Okay, great. That's a great job. Mm-hmm. Make a good living. You offer a great service to the public. But by what age, What school are you going to go to? Things like that. By what year do you want to be graduated? All those kind of things. It's important to set a date so you have something to work towards. So this part of the SMART goal criteria helps to prevent everyday tasks from taking priority over your long-term goals. So sometimes what we do throughout the day can kind of, your long-term goals will take a back seat sometimes. We have to be really careful not to allow that to happen. So a time-bound goal will usually answer these questions. When is it going to happen? What can I do 6 months from now? What can I do 6 weeks from now? And what can I do today that would help towards achieving that goal?
Absolutely, and I think when it comes to this entire acronym, it all builds upon it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And I think it's really cool when it comes to this time frame thing, because we all need to have a time frame. So when we're setting these goals, they're just not super open-ended, but we have a time in our mind that says, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go become a mechanic by the time I'm 25, and by the time I'm 30, I want to own my own shop. Whatever it might be, it could be 10 years, and then 5 years, and 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, 8 weeks, a month, 2 weeks, down to the day. And what you do is you just take this big goal and you start breaking it down into smaller goals, which will ultimately help you achieve some of the things that you're trying to do, especially if you're keeping this at the forefront of your mind. This really is a simple process. It's pretty easy. I'm not going to say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, but it really is a simple process to know specifically what you're trying to do and measuring that process. Is it achievable? Are the things that you're doing relative to that ultimate goal that you have? And what time frame do you have for that? It's so important. Some people say, I'm going to go and graduate college by the time I'm 22. Sometimes that's feasible, and sometimes those are possible, and other times they're not. So it really is important, you guys, when it comes to goal setting, that you understand who you are, that you're making good, healthy decisions for your life. And as Spencer mentioned about having the people around you, that they're speaking positive things into your life, that they are giving you good advice and good insight to help you make good decisions. And ultimately, these goals are not my goals, they're not Spencer's goals, they're not anybody's goals but yours. And we want to help you in that process. And so we thank you for taking the time and listening to us today as we talk about the SMART goals and how it could apply to your lives.
And guys, like Steven said earlier, we're going to be with you guys here for a pretty lengthy video series, So if you have any questions throughout this, if you want to get a hold of us, I know we can't talk face to face right now, but if you need to get a hold of us or anything, our phone number is right here. It's 209-257-1980. Listen to mine or Steven's extensions. You can feel free to give us a call at any time. Also, please go check out our YouTube page, YouTube at Next Institute Family Services. Check out all our different videos. We put a bunch up over the summer, so we have some really cool videos on there that we think could be helpful to you guys. And as always, stay healthy and stay safe.